Please rise in body and or in spirit to sing, "Oh, I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom." Let's give it up for the DC Labor Chorus. Always a joy to have you join us for worship, and especially for Labor Day weekend, which has become kind of a tradition now. Welcome. Good morning. I'm Reverend Abhi Janamanchi, one of the ministers serving this religious community, and I welcome you this morning to Cedar Lane Unitarian Universalist Church, a liberal religious community where love works, where we gather to explore the eternal, nurture community, and build a more just world, and where we dare to embody beloved community. Whoever you are, whomever you love, whatever your beliefs or life circumstance, wherever you're from, and whatever your immigrant status, you are welcome here. I extend a special welcome to those joining our service online via our live stream this morning. Whether in the moment or catching us online later, we are glad to have you with us. If you are new to Cedar Lane, we have a small gift for you. If you feel comfortable doing so, please raise your hand and keep it raised for a moment so our ushers can find you. Welcome. We're delighted you're here. And I hope you will stay after service for some coffee, tea, and conversation. And should you choose to pick up a yellow mug, our members will be sure to come and greet you. Right, folks? Yes. Because at Cedar Lane, every member is a part of our membership and welcoming team. Thank you. I draw your attention at this time to the printed page of announcements that are included in your order of celebration. And there are quite a few things happening this week and in upcoming weeks. And I would just like to highlight a few of them. One of the things, of course, I want to lift up is what happened last week in this space. Remember that? How many of you were here last week? Yes, wow. Well, for those of you who weren't here, we had a group of 7 Tibetan monks working all week, creating this beautiful sand mandala, the Ashobhya mandala, which is a mandala for peace and conflict resolution, which we felt was very apt given the times we're living in. They created it here, and last Sunday we had not only an amazing worship service, a spirit experience in the morning, but also a powerful closing ceremony, which included the dissolution of the mandala and a procession that we took to Rock Creek to dissolve the mandala, the remaining mandala, after it had been distributed to the folks who were here, to pray for peace. And some of you were observing to me this morning that you're still walking around in somewhat of a trance, feeling the energy and the presence of the monks and the peaceful atmosphere that just pervaded this place and the energy from the mandala. So it was truly a blessing and a gift to receive from these folks who joined us all week. And I'm also thankful to all of you who stepped up to help in so many ways, being gracious hosts, providing food for our monks, doing some of the transportation, dealing with some of the PR, the photography, and managing sound, many different things, and ushering and helping in so many different ways. If you were one of those folks who helped, would you please rise so we may recognize and thank you for your service. Thank you. Thank you. So moving on, this Sunday, following the service, right around 11:20 or thereabouts, I will be leading an introduction to Unitarian Universalism, UU 101, which is a monthly gathering that we have for newcomers, visitors, new members, and long-term members. Whoever is interested, feel free to stop by in the library, and it'll be for about an hour. So I look forward to seeing you there. And this week, FIRM, which is Fair Immigration Reform Movement, which is a DMV sanctuary ally. We are part of the DMV sanctuary movement in this region, has organized a 5-day fast by DACA and undocumented immigrants in front of the Republican National Committee's headquarters on Capitol Hill from September 4th through 9th from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. In anticipation that there will be some actions, congressional actions and presidential actions coming out this week, these advocates are really putting themselves out there and their safety on their line. And we are called to bear witness to their courageous work and to be there to support them. Now, right now, there is a daily need for persons who are trained in de-escalation, a doctor and nurses to check on those who are fasting. If you are one of those and have some time this week and can help out, please see Charlene Zellmer, who is part of our Immigrant Justice Ministry team. Thank you, Charlene. Charlene will be present in the lounge after the service. If you're able to volunteer sometime, we would really appreciate it. Also, on Tuesday at 10 o'clock, there will be a press conference and rally at Lafayette Park and a march to the White House, depending on what comes out on Tuesday. And right now, the call is for us to gather at 10 a.m. and then be present to whatever announcement comes out, whether it is continuation of DACA, in which case we will celebrate. If it is not, then we will protest. So you're invited to come to this rally on Tuesday. Going forward, this coming Friday, September 8th, there is a People of Color gathering of UUs of color from across the DMV region and their families for an opportunity to meet and connect with our new UUA president, the Reverend Susan Frederick Gray. This is intended to be an opportunity for those who identify as people of color in our movement to sit down with our new president and share their thoughts, aspirations, and concerns about being part of our movement. So any of you who identify as a person of color and your family is welcome to attend. We would appreciate an RSVP, as a meal is involved with this, so there are details that are included in the announcement. Today, Share the Plate will go to benefit Casa de Maryland, which is a central and essential partner in the immigration work that we are doing as a congregation. Casa is also the largest advocacy and service organization to immigrants in our area. It provides employment placement, workforce development and training, health education, citizenship and legal services, financial, language, and literacy training to Latino and immigrant communities throughout the state. Casa is also a refuge to over 100,000 undocumented immigrants in our area. It is a priority for Cedar Lane to support Casa strongly, and so please be generous with your support, your financial contributions in today's Share the Plate offering. Another important event is happening this week at American University School of Law. The People's Convergence Conference is happening from Friday, September 8th through Sunday, September 10th. And the conference is going to be discussing political diversity in the U.S. and the need for better electoral choices. On Saturday, September 9th at 8 p.m., Dr. Cornel West and Seattle Councilwoman Kshama Sawant will conduct a panel discussion, which I think is open to the public. If you're interested in attending the conference, please see Rod Branna. Rod, are you right here? Would you please rise so people can see you? Rod is one of the organizers for the conference and would be happy to give you more information, including registration details. Thank you, Rod. And next Sunday, friends, is our in-gathering homecoming Sunday, where we traditionally do our annual water communion, which is a messy and glorious ritual that involves lots of water, which we invite you to bring if you collected water from your summer travels or forgot and can bring some water from your kitchen sink. You're still welcome to do that, and if you forget that, we will have spare water available. And it's also the Sunday when we go to 2 services, 9 and 11. How many services? 2. What times? 9 and 11. Thank you. You're, of course, welcome to come at 10. You'll just have an extended greeting time with folks. So, look forward to seeing all of you there as we reconvene to begin this year together, this new church year. Many blessings abound, many, many blessings that I am filled with gratitude to be able to serve this religious community. Thank you. And now we begin with De Coloris, a struggle song that was used especially in the farm worker struggles to not only rally people, but get focused on the work for justice and equality and workers' rights. We welcome the DC Labor Chorus to sing De Coloris, which you're welcome to join in as the lyrics are on screen.
De colores se visten los campos en la primavera. De arco iris que vemos lucir. Y por eso los grandes amores de muchos colores me gustan a mí. Y por eso los grandes amores de muchos colores me gustan a mí. Canta el gallo con el kiri, 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 kiri. La gallina con el cara, 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 cara. Los polluelos con el pío, 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 pío. Y por eso los grandes amores de muchos colores me gustan a mí. Y por eso los grandes amores de muchos colores me gustan a mí. De colores se visten los campos en la primavera. De colores son los pajaritos que vienen de afuera. De colores es el arco iris que vemos lucir. Y por eso los grandes amores de muchos colores me gustan a mí. Y por eso los grandes amores de muchos colores me gustan a mí.
Come, let us worship together. Let us open our hearts to love, our minds to reason, our souls to joy, and our lives to service. Amazed by the miracle of life, grateful for the gift of community, inspired by the power of living faith, we are gathered here. As Jenny Crane, Ezra Town, and their children Leo and Elsie kindle the chalice, symbol of our gathered community, I invite you to stand in body and or in spirit to share in unison the words printed in your order of celebration. May the light we now kindle inspire us to use our power to seek with honesty, to heal with love, to help with compassion, to bless with joy, to serve the spirit of justice in the fullness of community.
Please be seated.
So this morning, as you look at our chancel, you will see the space has been decorated with backpacks of all sizes. These are going to be given to our neighbors at Veers Mill, and if we have enough, hopefully their siblings. And as I call up members in our community that will be using a backpack this year, I ask that you hold in your thoughts these backpacks and those who wear them. So students, come on up. We preface this ceremony by acknowledging what a gift it is to be able to own a backpack and what a gift it is to be able to go to school. These gifts are not universal, and thus we take a moment now to give thanks for our backpacks and for our education, as well as for our teachers and community members who work to ensure that our schools are creative, progressive, safe spaces for all. So thank you for coming up.
Will all those present here now enter a mindful space of loving kindness, of hope and faith as we begin our responsive blessings? My friends, as your backpack will carry the supplies to nourish your mind, your heart, your body, and your spirit, we hold your backpacks and these backpacks as sacred objects this morning. And we bless them with the words that are on screen that we invite you to read responsively, which means you read the words that are in italics, the big ones.
So that you are filled by days spent reading, writing, problem solving, and experimenting. Take one.
So that in every classroom, hallway, cafeteria, schoolyard, and workplace, you treat others kindly and others treat you kindly.
So that you are awake in the
ahead.
morning, energized during the day, and always able to get a good night's sleep.
We bless your body. For the days when you get all the answers wrong, the days you end up in detention, and the days you don't care about anything.
For the days that you need a friend but cannot find one, and the days where you can't stand anybody and want to be alone.
We bless your heart. For the days when you're so sleepy, the days when your burden is too heavy, the days when your backpack weighs a ton and you don't want to go to school.
Throughout this entire year, as you go through all the successes and all the failures that go along with learning new ideas, meeting new people, and growing in your mind, heart, and body.
We want you to know that you are good, that you are loved. No matter what, you are loved and you are good. And so,
so let it be so. Go forth, great thinkers, doers, and adventurers, students of life, and wear your blessed backpack with grace and pizzazz. Have a great year, everybody.
all right. Please rise in body and or in spirit to join voices with the DC Labor Chorus to sing the labor song, Hold the Fort. You'll be invited to join in by Elise Bryant when the time comes.
Hold the fort, for we
We gather in this sacred space of community to find strength, the spiritual, emotional, and even physical strength to face the many challenges of our lives. We gather in this sacred space of community to be held as we grieve and as we celebrate. During this time of remembrance, let us lift up those in our community who are living through significant passages. Cedar Lane member Bill Wallenmeyer has passed away. Bill's wife, Diane, would love cards and letters. An update regarding a fall memorial service will be forthcoming. Cedar Lane member Emily Holdenried is currently at Georgetown University Hospital. She has been diagnosed with cancer. She and Ellis would appreciate cards and notes of support. She cannot have flowers at this time. If you would like to visit Emily, please reach out to Reverend Katie. Our hearts are heavy with sorrow as we witness the extreme misery, suffering, and devastation caused by Hurricane Harvey. Our thoughts and prayers for recovery and healing go to all affected by this disaster. We continue to hold in our hearts all those whose lives are lost and whose loved ones' lives are lost to violence and calamities. May these friends of ours, our companions in this world, and all that lives unspoken in our hearts be held in the peace of shared silence.
I invite us to center ourselves for a time of reflection, meditation, or prayer. Find a comfortable space to occupy where you are. Place your feet on the floor, close your eyes, and go deeper within to that place of silence and honesty, courage and love. And let us open our minds and hearts to the power of healing that is in us and in the world around us. Let us open ourselves to the Spirit of life that moves in us and through us and that we encounter every moment of our lives. Would you pray with me? Nameless one of many names, Spirit of life and love, our hearts break as we watch stories on the news of dangerous floods, of lost lives, of people uprooted and displaced and rains that won't stop. Our thoughts and love are with those who have suffered and who continue to suffer in Houston, throughout Texas and Louisiana as a result of Hurricane Harvey. Our thoughts and love are with all those affected by devastating floods in India, Nepal, and Bangladesh. We hold in our prayers and loving thoughts all the victims and their families. We pray for the safety and well-being of all those who are displaced from their homes and for those engaged in the vital work of relief, recovery, and rebuilding. We pray for all the people and the animals and the earth itself. Spirit of life, bring forth peace where there is fear. Bring forth healing to those who are injured or sick, and solace to the bereaved. Bring forth courage for all those who are risking their lives to help others. Bring forth generosity of spirit and substance to aid those in need. Transform our broken hearts so that we might be agents of your love in the coming days and months. May all be well. May all be peaceful. May all be free from suffering, and may all embody the holy. Om Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu. Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu. Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu. Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. The offering to sustain the mission and ministry of Cedar Lane Unitarian Universalist Church and the crucial work of Casa de Maryland will now be given and gratefully received. We welcome the DC Labor Chorus again to share No Basta Rezar.
I didn't hear you all, so we're going to do that again. No, basta rezar, hacen falta muchas cosas para conseguir la paz. No.
la paz.
Y rezan de buena fe, y rezan de corazón, pero también reza el piloto cuando se monte en el avión. Cuando se monte en el avión. No, no, no basta rezar, hacen falta muchas cosas para conseguir la paz. No, no, no basta rezar, hacen falta muchas cosas para conseguir la paz. Cuando el pueblo se levante y que todo haga cambiar, ustedes dirán conmigo, no bastaba con rezar. Ustedes dirán conmigo, no bastaba con rezar. No basta. No, no, no basta rezar. Hacen falta muchas cosas para conseguir la paz. No, no, no basta rezar. Hacen falta muchas cosas para conseguir la paz. En el mundo no habrá paz mientras hay explotación de rico por el amo y te maltratan al peón. Rece el rico, rece el amo y te maltratan al peón. No, no, no basta rezar, hacen falta muchas cosas para conseguir la paz. No, no, no basta rezar, hacen falta muchas cosas para conseguir la paz. Nada se puede lograr si no hay revolución del hombre por el hombre y exista de sí. Voy a repetir eso. No, no, no basta rezar, hacen falta muchas cosas para conseguir la paz. No, no, no basta rezar. No, no, no basta rezar.
For the gifts we have given, for the gifts that we are, we offer gratitude for the contributions to the work of this ministry. We bow to the spirit of generosity and faith that make courage and compassion the cornerstone of Cedar Lane Unitarian Universalist Church. Thank you for your generosity.
All right. This is one of my favorite services. No, really, it is, because this gives an opportunity for us to engage in dialogue. And one of my concerns about large church ministry is it doesn't provide for more opportunities to engage with one another. So even though we do this once a year, I'm always grateful. And even though I don't get to all the questions that are asked, and these are amazing questions that come to me, I still try to address as many as possible. So I had asked my good colleague, Archine, to sort them so that I'm able to go through them, especially if they are similar questions around a topic, that in turn I can address them together rather than go at them at different times. So the first grouping that I picked up includes questions about God and worship. So two favorite topics of mine. So one of the questions is, if one does not believe in God, why do we and what do we worship? When you mention God in the service, is it the traditional meaning of God, i.e. Father of Jesus? I thought the UU was more about atheism. If God is good and God is omnipotent, why do we have so much evil and misfortune? And then, what is your view of the prosperity gospel? Does Jesus want us to be rich? I'll get to that. So, in the Unitarian Universalist context, we look upon worship as celebrating things of worth, which is actually close to the traditional meaning of the word worship, which derives from the Anglo-Saxon word worshipen, which means to ascribe things of worth. That's all it means. So in a way, what we do here is very much in keeping with the meaning of worship. We celebrate things of worth that are important to us in our lives, the values that guide us in our individual and collective lives, the values that undergird our religious tradition, Unitarian Universalism, which invite us not only to celebrate them, but live them out in the world. And that's what we seek to do in worship. So it doesn't really require a belief in some form of God that you may choose to believe in or not. And our view of God is not the traditional view in that we do not necessarily see God as the Father of Jesus, who is seated on a throne with a white, flowing beard and is an older white male, and there are people sitting next to him and around him and all that. Not that you cannot believe in that. That's not the orientation from which we move. Theological pluralism is an important aspect of Unitarian Universalism. So right here are people who believe in God, not the traditional form of God, but God as a divine principle, a force of love that pervades all, that moves in and through us, that is present in our relationships, that comes alive when we practice being in right relationship with one another, when we practice love and loving kindness and compassion with one another. Some of us believe in God in that way. There are those who not sure whether there is a God and feel that's not where they want to put their energy, wondering about, and feel that they need to live their lives according to the moral compass that they have set for themselves. And then there are others who really don't feel the need for believing in God. And there are folks who are in between. I've sometimes called myself an atheistic, agnostic, naturalistic, humanistic theist. You go figure. So in that framework, the whole idea of somehow God is in control of the universe and causes things to happen, good or bad, doesn't really fit within our theological framework. It's not that we just say blank happens. No, it's not passive either. It is to be responsive to what we encounter in life and to recognize that life is both glorious and tragic. That life is filled both with accomplishments, successes, as well as failures and disappointments. And that what we are called is to be present, to be mindful, to be engaged fully in life. Again, that's not something unique to Unitarian Universalists. Buddhism, Hinduism talks about being present in the moment. But part of our theology is that we believe in life before death. We believe in life before death. And as the poet asks, what will you do with your one wild and precious life? That to us is the existential question that we are challenged not just to ponder intellectually and philosophically, but to actually do something about it. So, prosperity gospel. We don't subscribe to that. And if we do, we look upon Jesus as a human teacher, a prophet, a socialist, a radical, a rabble-rouser, someone who was bucking the trend, who was countercultural in the fullest sense of the term, and paid the highest price possible for being that way. And so, if anything, we may say, as Jesus said, give all that you have away. Share with one another, so that we may all be blessed with all that we have. It is, in a way, a prosperity gospel, but it's more sharing your prosperity gospel. Someone asked, great sermons, readings, music, how come no poetry? Well, I think you have not come enough times to our Sunday worship. So please come regularly, because you will be regularly treated to poetry. So the next set of questions seem to be around belonging, membership, being a part of this community. So I'm going to try and address them. What can we do to make sure everyone, man, I'm getting old, new and old, long-time members feel included in our mission? And how can we get more people involved in membership ministry? Great question. It is important for us to remember that we are all a part of Cedar Lane. And we come from different places, different rooms, different views, different beliefs, different ideas to find and occupy common ground. That we seek to find unity in our diversity, not uniformity, my friends. Unity and uniformity are very different. We're seeking unity in our diversity and trying to create the beloved community, which invites us not only to be mindful and accepting and understanding of our differences, but also to celebrate our similarities. Now, that's a tall order. You know, I wish there was a simple formula that I could say, you do this, this, and this, and we'll all be good to go. No, it's messy. Because the work of creating community and sustaining community is a lifelong process. And we will fail at it. We are failing at it. And yet, we move forward. So, the question is, to me, is how do we create that space for each other? Not just for the ones who are already here, who have been here for a long time, but also for the others who are finding us and those who are yet to find us. And that's what our faith invites us to do when we say we affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person. So, as I said in my welcome, it means every one of us is part of the membership and welcoming team. This is not just those who have been invited to play that role. They may have some specific duties, but all of us have that responsibility. Because if we say someone will do it, in all likelihood, no one will do it. And that calls for a sense of ownership about this place. This place doesn't belong to me. People like me come and go. You know that. You have been through ministers here. You are here to stay. This place belongs to all of you, to each of you. And so I invite you, I'm going to throw this back at you and say, I challenge you to really figure out ways of how you would go about embodying a way of welcome that you seek to be able to provide that for all those who are here with you. And when we figure that out, that question will be resolved. What are some strategies that the church can use to help members that are in immediate distress in their personal or professional lives? This is, again, an important and crucial issue that we need to be focusing on as part of our pastoral ministry. I'm really happy to report that my new colleague, the Reverend Katie Romano Griffin, who brings wonderful experience both in trauma ministry and counseling ministry, is developing a more intentional process, working with our pastoral visitors to be able to be more responsive rather than just reactive to people's needs. Because at the core of our mission, we are here to support people through their journeys. So that's the essential mission, and then we can go out and save the world. We forget that. I forget that. So this is an intentional reminder to us to be creating ways in which people know how the church can be there to support them as they go through life's challenges. So stay tuned. We will be providing some clear ways in which you can be able to do that. Why is it important for us to be multicultural and multiracial religious community? Well, it is important to us because our theology requires it. It is, there are two aspects of being religious liberals or in liberal religion. One is our trying to embody a theology that is focused on the present and not the past. So when we say we are committed to religious freedom, freedom of thought and expression, to way of being organized democratically, we are celebrating an open-minded, open-ended way of being in relationship, not just with one another, but with life's intimate and ultimate questions of existence. The other aspect that is a key component of religious liberalism is theological pluralism, which I also touched on. And when we seek to embody these two aspects, which is at the core of our Unitarian Universalist tradition, we are called to be responsive to the world in which we live in today. And the world in which we live in today, outside of these beautiful walls, is very different from the world that we see around us. I mean, just look around you. Do we reflect the multicultural, pluralistic diversity of our community? The question is, why not? Not why, but why not? The why not is because as a movement, we have tended to practice what Paul Reiser calls the don't ask, don't tell way of going through the work of diversity. We don't like to engage with the difficult questions of what it is really called for when we want to be a multicultural, multiracial, pluralistic religious community. What it calls for is to step away from the normative culture around which Unitarian Universalism was founded. A normative culture that comes more out of the European American experience. While there is so much to celebrate and value and affirm in it, it is still a paradigm that does not provide for inclusiveness for those who do not subscribe to it. Which means we are called to reimagine that paradigm, which means we have to be willing to change, which is where we run into trouble. We love the idea of change. We don't like to change. As long as it is somebody else who has to change, we are okay with it. I'm guilty of that. But the spiritual discomfort that comes with needing to make some fundamental changes is, to me, the critical question that our faith is encountering now in the 21st century. I think it was Louis B. Fisher, who was the president of Crane Theological Seminary, when asked the question, Universalists or often asked where they stand, he said, Universalists do not stand, they move. I say Unitarian Universalists do not stand, we move. But in order to move, we have to get ourselves out of the comfortable rut we have kind of gotten used to occupying. And that's why we need to do this work more intentionally. How do I register my 2-year-old for fall childcare during service? Very practical, very good question. Is Stephanie Williams in the room today? I know maybe she's, there she is. Stephanie is our childcare coordinator, and we're going live next week, aren't we, Stephanie? So please see her after the service. She will help you with the registration. See, I solved problems. Wow. I increasingly feel I don't belong here. How do I know that this is still my spiritual home? That's a deep question that I wish I have an answer for you. I can't give you that answer, but I am willing to partner with you, to companion you in exploring ways in which you feel more connected to this, your spiritual home. So please see me, see Archine or Katie, in order for us to be able to be present to your exploration, to your struggle, so that we are able to create a sense of belonging for all who are a part of this community. What can we do to make sure everyone, I'm going back to the old question. All right, I think we should pause here and maybe invite the labor chorus to offer a song, and then I'll get back to the next set of questions. Thank you.
Our spirits never die.
Thank you. Would Cedar Lane consider making pronouns, not stickers, part of everyone's name tag? The answer is yes. Yes, we need to. In order to be not only more mindful of gender diversity in our congregation, but also more intentional about recognizing gender diversity in our congregation, it would be important for us to move towards creating a process by which we identify pronouns by which we would like to be referred to. Please tell us a few of your hopes for Cedar Lane in the next year. Well, I could go on and on. I have so many hopes and dreams and aspirations. Let me try to zero in on a couple of them, which I think we're already engaged in. So the rally that happened a couple of Sundays ago, the Interfaith Rally Against Hate, Interfaith Rally for Love Over Hate, was an incredible experience. We had over 700 people packed in this campus, not just this room, but all over the church. What it showed me was what we are being called to be as a religious community, of being visible for the values that we aspire to as a religious community. I want us to do more of that. It's not just up to me to be doing this. It is up to all of us to work together to make that happen, so that people know that we exist, that this is a place where love works, and they can come here, and we go to them as well to partner in the work that needs to be done. That's one hope. The second hope has to be around how can we better embody and practice radical hospitality. Because we can't just have these kinds of events, we also need to welcome people as they are, who they are, where they are, when they come to us. And we do some wonderful work. You know, I constantly hear from people who say how much they appreciate the warmth and welcome they receive when they come here. So we've made good progress there, but I think we need to do more of that. And that in turn will enable us to live out our ministries more fully in ways that would help not just our ability to create a deeper sense of community within, but also a deeper connection without. And also give us the opportunity to grow, especially create a more vibrant ministry to families that are seeking us out. That in turn will enable us to break the plateau we have been finding ourselves in our religious education ministry and start growing again, be it with our children, our youth, our young adults, and our adults, the lifespan. So my friends, those are two things. I hope we can be more intentional. Now, what does that call for? What it calls for is for you to say yes when you're asked to serve in some capacity, or for you to step up and say, I am here to do this, even before you're asked. Again, that is what ownership of a religious community means. Recognizing that this is my spiritual home, and I am called to be a part of it, and I am called to serve in a way that embodies my commitment to this religious community. So, can I get an amen for that? Okay, I'm scanning the congregation, so I know who's here today. Because we're going to come back to you and remind you, saying, you said amen about being a part of our ministry. Because right now, our biggest challenge is not finding enough people to serve in the many things that we are so deeply committed to. So that becomes a situation where only a small group of people are having to do the things over and over again. They're deeply dedicated, but they're exhausted, and they need you. So please consider saying yes to even one thing this year and doing it with others. And we will be coming back to you with a volunteer fair in which you will be invited. Part of that is the social justice ministry. Someone asked, is our social justice ministry too fragmented? Not as much as before. We went through a discernment process last year to identify certain core ministries that we are now seeking to build and serve in. The ministries around immigrant justice, around environmental justice, racial justice, women's issues, and also our ministry with AIM, Action in Montgomery, the community-based congregational organizing that we've been a part of for many years. Now, these are some areas that we have focused on. I'm sure there are a couple more that I'm missing. So please don't take this to be the exhaustive list. And this is where we're seeking people's support in building these ministries. And as we do this work, we will see that we are better equipped, better organized, and more able to make a difference. So I hope you will partner with us on that. Many of us who have been here a while see a loss of democracy in church decision-making. Do you think the new governance approved has led to a loss of democracy at Cedar Lane Unitarian Universalist Church? The quick answer is no. The longer answer is we are doing democracy differently. So when you function under policy-based governance, which is what we're doing, and this is more for the wonky types who enjoy church work this way, so bear with me, but it's important. When you do policy-based governance, the board is focused on the broad picture at the 30,000-foot level. They're not only figuring out policies, but also casting some of the vision. But the board doesn't do that in isolation. The board should not do that in isolation. The board needs to be in dialogue with the congregation, to whom they are accountable to as the elected representatives. And in that sense, receive information, input from you as to what that vision needs to be, and figure out ways in which they can create a broad approach, which in turn, the staff are assigned the responsibility of making those things happen in the different areas of ministry that we are engaged in. Now, we already have done some of that through our strategic visioning process that led to the 4 strategic directions that in turn the board have adopted as their outcomes, their goals that they would like to see happen in the next 4 years. So we do have that process, but some of the things we still have to work out are the ways in which there is a constant and regular flow of information back and forth from the congregation to the board, to the staff, to the congregation, and thereby establishing a model both of responsiveness and accountability. When we make that happen, and it takes a while, people have told me that to be functioning fully under policy-based governance, it takes 9 to 11 years. I wish we could just make that happen. It's an ongoing process. So, but we will be more mindful in addressing some of those concerns that have emerged, especially in these past couple of years. All right, what do you do to keep calm in the midst of the storm that suddenly breaks out around you? Well, I just go and scream at the top of my voice. No. Well, it's a challenge. I don't always remember to breathe. I don't always remember to find a way to center myself and be present in the moment. When I actually remember to do that, I learn to be better equipped to address a crisis or a stressful situation. This I have already addressed. Yes. Oh, then I'll finish with what's the difference between white supremacy and white privilege? Well, it's a very pertinent question, both in the context of what's happening around us, as well as some of the challenges we have faced as a religious movement in the past few months that led to the resignation of our previous UUA president, Reverend Peter Morales, and then issues that we've had to contend with within our own movement. White supremacy refers to a racial hierarchy in which whiteness sits atop. Now, the United States was founded on a system of white supremacy, legally, culturally, economically, politically, of white male upper class supremacy. While we have sought to dismantle some of those, a lot of those remain today as part of the normative culture that we are a part of. Now, the most egregious and vicious ways in which they are manifest is what we encountered in Charlottesville. But the fact remains that the more subtler, nuanced aspects of it pervade our culture. They can be confirmed through a number of outcomes and measurements: wage gaps, employment gaps, incarceration issues, incarceration rates, sentencing disparities, economic power, economic inequality, political power, cultural influences, and on and on. Now, those arguments don't need to be made here, and we don't have time. These are, in some ways, there are metrics out there that we know. White privilege, on the other hand, is a reference to the myriad of benefits bestowed on those who identify as white from the aforementioned system of white supremacy. They are not the same. They are related, but they can't be conflated. And so people, when they get uncomfortable around the term white supremacy, need to find a way to breathe through that discomfort and sit with what it is that it is being referenced. It is the institutional system in which we are all involved. We have all been co-opted. We are all, in some ways, enslaved. And that's what we are seeking to dismantle, both within and without. Well, friends, there are some amazing questions that I would love to go through here, but unfortunately, we're out of time, as always. But I thank you for your thoughtfulness in bringing these questions, and I hope I addressed at least some of them. I hope I answered some of them. And we will, of course, be sharing more of these questions with you. We're going to type them up and share so you have a sense of the breadth and the span of the richness of the questions that came before us. So thank you again. All right. Sister Elise, shall we close in song with Honey in the Rock? All right. Please rise in body, endurance, spirit. Oh, as you rise, let me share some poetry. From one of my favorite poets, Rainer Maria Rilke, who writes, "Have patience with everything unresolved in your heart, and try to love the questions themselves as if they were locked rooms or books written in a very foreign language. Don't search for the answers which could not be given to you now because you would not be able to live them." And the point is to live everything. Live the questions now. May it be so.
Well, there's honey in the rock for all God's children. Honey in the rock, honey in the rock. There's honey in the rock for all God's children. Meet everyone today. Say it again. Well, there's honey in the rock. honey in the rock, honey in the rock. There's honey in the rock for all God's children. Feed everyone today. In every way that I can, feed everyone today. Open my heart and lend a hand. Feed everyone today. Well, there's honey in the rock for all God's children. Honey in the rock, hey, honey in the rock. There's honey in the rock for all God's children. Feed everyone today. Pray for peace the whole world wide. Feed everyone today. Pray for the end of hurtful pride. Feed everyone today. Well, there's honey in the rock for all God's children. Honey in the rock, hey, honey in the rock. There's honey in the rock for all God's children. Feed everyone today. One of these nights round 12 o'clock. Feed everyone today. This old world's gonna reel and rock. Feed everyone today. Well, there's honey in the rock for all God's children. Honey in the rock, hey, honey in the rock. There's honey in the rock for all God's children. Feed everyone today. Freedom is the song we sing. Feed everyone today. We shall make the mountains ring. Feed everyone today. Well, there's honey in the rock for all God's children. Honey in the rock, hey, honey in the rock. There's honey in the rock for all God's children. Feed everyone today. One of these, freedom is the song. Freedom is the song we sing. Feed everyone. Feed everyone today. We shall make the mountains ring. We shall make the mountains ring. Feed everyone. Feed everyone today. Say it like you mean it. Well, there's honey in the rock for all God's children. Honey in the rock. Hey, honey in the rock. There's honey in the rock for all God's children. Feed everyone. Last time. Well, there's honey in the rock for all God's children. Honey in the rock. Hey, honey in the rock. There's honey in the rock for all God's children. Feed everyone today. Thank you, Cedar Lane. Thank you, Chorus. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Abhi.